The objectives of our Algebra Readiness pilot were very simple. The first was to deploy an easy, standards-based digital assessment tool so that we could measure what students knew and didn't know as it relates to algebra readiness. The process started with the development of the assessment through implementation and then deployment. From this process, we went through the creation of an assessment and data collection. We measured these common assessments to be able to identify the areas and standards where students were deficient, and then the ultimate goal was to develop a profile of the learner. Some key aspects of the data collection pilot included the fact that we built the assessment around NWA and teacher-developed assessment items. It takes about 20 to 25 minutes to complete, and it links together the ILMS data, student performance data, with the SMS data. That will allow us to be able to do many different things to help improve student performance.
The why around the Algebra Readiness Assessment. First, it's a KISA goal, and we need data collected around this goal to have data-driven instruction. We also know that Algebra 1 is a gateway to graduation. Students enter Algebra with a range of experiences. We hear from many freshman center principals, high school principals, that students come in from a variety of schools, variety of classrooms, and they need to have baseline data to understand these learners. Students need the support. Educators need to know where the gap areas are. This may generate discussion with parents, team members, to offer the support the students need to have them be successful.
The Algebra Readiness Assessment was constructed with the KISA goal in mind. Using 8th grade Common Core math standards, assessment data will give a window into each student's mathematics understanding entering 9th grade. During the initial phases of construction, we focused on specific 8th grade standards that were considered critical in the success of Algebra 1. From these selected standards, NWEA assessment items were collected to make up the assessment. From this point, the assessment was reviewed by a teacher panel and beta tested with a small group of students. Using teacher feedback and student data performance, the assessment was refined into its current state.
One of the key features in Edify that we wanted to include is next generation assessment types. For example, the hotspot question type and the drag and drop. Some of what we've seen in the pilots of next generation assessments is that students don't know what they're supposed to do in those question types, and they end up getting the questions wrong because they don't know how to drag and drop, or they're not sure where to put stuff. So we want to help them prepare for that so that when they are taking ACTs and other high-stakes tests, that they'll be assessed purely on the content and not their ability to use the technology. In addition to that, Edify allows the user to tag each item with a standard, and that's important so that the student, the teacher, and the administrator can get detailed feedback about where their strengths and weaknesses are by each standard. So that's very important and something you don't find in most other systems. In addition to that, the system also recommends a resource based on that performance. So if a student gets question 1 wrong, tagged with this standard, it will recommend a resource that they can learn from to try to remediate that gap in learning.
At Kent Innovation High School, we administered the Algebra Readiness Assessment to all 112 of our incoming freshmen, no matter if they're at the algebra level coming in or the geometry level coming in math. We did this for a couple different reasons. Number one, we wanted to address the KISA goal of having students algebra ready by the 9th grade. And also we have a very unique situation where we have students coming from all 20 districts in the county, all with different experiences. And so this assessment would help us to place those students more appropriately and also to take a look at their needs from a data level.
So one major advantage of the Algebra Readiness Assessment was that even before I knew any of the students' names, it provided me with the information that I needed for correct placement for those students, particularly because I have geometry students. It also helped me identify what the group needed a little bit more, so I could change the units towards their specific needs, and also obviously the individual needs needed to be addressed as well. So within the first week of school, to have that information was really valuable for me as a classroom teacher.
How I can use this as a principal is it gives me the ability to connect a learning management system with our student management system. Now I can take a look at different subgroups and take a look at some achievement gaps within those subgroups. I can use it to guide professional development. I can take a look at who my rock stars really are, addressing certain standards, and perhaps have them lead some learn labs. And we really can take a look at addressing student needs at the data level.
From a district perspective, you can focus on specific standards and track student performance across multiple grade levels. You can identify and share best practices within the district, focus on those great performing schools, and share what they're doing well. Data-driven resource deployment is another area. You want to look at those areas of need, those gaps, and provide targeted professional development and resources if needed.
Using the data from the Algebra 1 Readiness Assessment that was given at Kent Innovation, we were then able to take the data and break it down by individual district and compare it to the overall population. So what you're looking at here, the blue bars represent the students who attend Kent Innovation and their performance by strand as compared to the overall population at Kent Innovation, which would be the gold bars on this graph. So you can do a comparison across the strands that were represented on the assessment. The next is a dive down a little bit deeper and looking at what an individual student's performance would look like. At the top and on the left-hand side is a summary of the standards, how they did, just with a simple color coding of green, yellow, and red. Green being that they're proficient at an 80% level, which was what it was set at. On the right-hand side is a strand by strand. You can see the proficiency levels and again the quick color coding to let you know. On the left-hand side below the pie chart is individual student information, so gender, ethnicity, demographic information about the student. And then to take it a little step further, below that has the teachers who have taught math to that student over the course of the last several years. So we've done that through using the NCES codes, which are the national course codes, and tying those through the teacher-student data link to find the teachers who taught math to the student over the last couple of years.
As we continue to move forward with this process, we'll start to have a dashboard that is designed for a teacher view, a principal view, and a curriculum director view. The dashboard will allow a teacher to be able to see how students are performing based on their standards. It will allow the principal to be able to see how teachers teaching the same course and the same standards are performing. And it'll also allow the curriculum director to follow that student's performance and the performance of students on those specific standards throughout their K-12 environment.
Now that you've learned how we've addressed the KISA goal through our Algebra Readiness Assessment, our next steps are to share with various groups in Kent County. We've already shared with the curriculum directors at KLC. What could they do with the data? We've showed them results of the data of our pilot study, and we also talked about what PD could be available based on this information. We plan to share with K-Tech, our technology group, talking about digital assessment and the challenges associated with devices, bandwidth, and deployments. We also plan to share with KHR, Human Resources. What can they do with the data? What staff supports are available? And any information that could be tied to evaluation. We also plan to share with KBO the finances and what academic success is there, and looking at the success of programs as well. We hope you've enjoyed this summary of the Algebra Readiness Assessment. We appreciate you listening, and if you have any more questions, please contact us at Kent Intermediate School District. Thank you.